need some motivation, where should I go? To rise above limitations, get up off the floor. Teaching me new things that I ain't already know. Melanated elevation, let me put you on. Man, they all about creation, go check out they clothes. Brain mentally stimulating, inspiring growth. I'm learning my worth, it's dope, the merch reflect the glow. It keep me warm, but I ain't gonna lie, this hoodie cold. Let me check out the podcast, new episode. That's what's up, cause I like the
Peace, love, and elevation, family. Today's episode is about the knowing-doing gap. How we already know what we're supposed to do, and how the gap between knowing and actually doing quietly shapes every area of our lives, and how to close that distance so that knowledge finally becomes action. So first off, I want to start with saying something that might feel uncomfortably familiar. You already know what you need to do. You know you should drink more water. You know the relationship has run its course. You know the business idea you've been sitting on for 2 years is worth building. You know you need to rest. You know you've been avoiding that conversation. You know. And yet, here you are, still not doing it. That is not a knowledge problem, that is something else entirely. And today, we are going to name it, break it down, and give you a framework that actually addresses what's really happening beneath the surface. What I am describing has a name. It is called the knowing-doing gap. And understanding how it works is one of the most practical things you can do for your life, because once you can see it clearly, you stop blaming yourself for being weak or undisciplined, and you start addressing the actual mechanism that is keeping you stuck. So let's get into it. The knowing-doing gap is the distance between understanding something and living it out. But here is what I need you to understand right away, and this is important. It is not one thing. It is not laziness. It is not a character flaw. Researchers have studied that this pattern describes it as a multi-case self-regulation problem, meaning it is a systems failure, not a personal failure. Think about it, how information actually travels through you before it becomes behavior. It goes like this. Information comes in, you understand it, you agree with it, you form an intention, you make a decision, you take action, you repeat that action, and eventually it becomes part of your identity. That is the full sequence, and the breakdown can happen at any point in that chain. What the research suggests is that the most common places the breakdown occurs are 3 specific points: initiation, meaning starting; persistence, meaning continuing; and habit stabilization, meaning making it automatic enough to become part of who you are. So, when you know you need to make a change and you still don't make it, that is not weakness. That is a breakdown at one of those 3 points, and each one has a different cause and a different solution. I want to name something clearly before we go any further, because some of you might already be constructing a story about how this doesn't apply to you. This gap affects everyone. The research on this does not discriminate entrepreneurs, students, leaders, athletes, executives, artists, military operators, spiritual practitioners, people who have survived significant trauma, and specifically highly intelligent people. That last one tends to surprise people. Intelligence helps you understand information faster. It does not automatically supply you with emotional regulation. It does not guarantee time consistency. And it does not protect you from falling apart under stress. In other words, you can be brilliant and still be stuck. You can understand the problem better than anyone in the room and still not be able to solve it on your own or in your own life. The people who execute consistently, who do what they say they're going to do, who follow through, who build, what the research points to is that they tend to have stronger self-regulation, a clearer sense of identity, better environmental support around their goals, and the ability to translate what they want into concrete if-then plans. The people who stay stuck tend to experience higher aversion to the task itself, lower belief that they can actually succeed, stronger avoidance patterns, and more fragmented attention, often because of emotional conflict happening beneath the surface. Notice I said emotional conflict, not lack of information, not lack of desire. That distinction is where this conversation gets real. Let me give you the core causes as clearly as I can. The most established drivers of the knowing-doing gap are procrastination, impulsiveness, low self-efficacy, which is your belief in your own ability to succeed, task delay, task aversiveness, and what researchers call conscientious-related differences, meaning how naturally organized and disciplined someone tends to be as a baseline. Those are the primary engines. Then there are amplifiers, things that make those primary causes worse: decision overload, perfectionism, fear of failure, shame, uncertainty. These are real and they matter, but they tend to operate on top of the core issues rather than being the core issue themselves. Now, I want to make a practical distinction that I think is worth holding on to. Laziness is a broad unwillingness to put in effort. That is not what the knowing-doing gap describes. The knowing-doing gap is about wanting the outcome, genuinely wanting it, and still failing to convert that desire into sustained action. Those are two completely different problems. And then there is a third category that is different still: burnout, trauma, and what clinicians call executive dysfunction. These can reduce the actual cognitive and emotional capacity you have available, making action harder even when motivation is fully intact. So, if you have been running yourself into the ground wondering why you cannot execute at the level you know you're capable of, one honest possibility is the system is depleted. Not broken, not weak, but depleted. And depletion has a different solution than avoidance does. So, here is where I want to give you something you can actually use, right? So there is a model I want to walk you through, 7 layers that together determine whether knowledge becomes action or stays trapped as intention. Think of each one as a question your system has to be able to answer before behavior becomes consistent. So the first layer is knowledge. Knowledge answers the question, what do I need to do? If you don't know what the action is, nothing else works. But most of us are not missing this layer. We already know for real, which means the problem is somewhere further down. The second layer is meaning. Meaning answers the question, why does this matter? Not the surface reason, the real reason, the one connected to something you actually care about at the core level. When action is only motivated by pressure, guilt, or obligation, it does not last. When it connects to genuine meaning, it becomes self-sustaining. The third layer is identity. Identity answers the question, who am I in relation to this action? This one is powerful and often overlooked. If the behavior you're trying to build conflicts with how you see yourself, your system will resist it. Even if you consciously want the outcome, the question is not just, do I want this? The question is this consistent with who I believe I am? Right? The fourth layer is emotion. Emotion answers the question, can I tolerate what this requires? Not just the physical or logistical requirements, the emotional ones, the discomfort, the uncertainty, the possibility of failure, the visibility, the change, and how others might see you. If the answer to that question is no, or even I'm not sure, action becomes fragile, regardless of how much you want the outcome. The fifth layer is planning. Planning answers the question, when and how. Specifically, vague intentions do not produce consistent behavior. What the research consistently supports is the use of what are called implementation intentions. Specific, if this happens, then I will do this structures. Not general goals, specific trigger response pairs. If it is 7 a.m. and I finish my coffee, then I will sit down and write for 20 minutes. That kind of specificity. Research suggests that this type of planning meaningfully improves goal attainment and makes the desired behavior more automatic over time. I want to be clear, that's what the evidence points to. not a guarantee for every person in every situation. Now, the sixth layer is environment. Environment answers the question, what gets triggered by my surroundings? Your behavior is not happening in a vacuum. It is happening inside a physical and social context that is either supporting or undermining what you're trying to do. Most people try to change behavior through willpower alone, while leaving the environment completely untouched. That is a losing strategy. The environment shapes what gets triggered without you having to think about it, which means adjusting the environment is one of the highest leverage moves you can make. The seventh layer is repetition. Repetition answers the question, what becomes automatic? Identity does not shift from a single decision. It shifts through repeated evidence. Every time you do a thing, especially when it is hard, especially when you didn't feel like it, you are casting a vote for who you are becoming, not who you hope to be, who you are becoming right now through what you actually do. If any one of these layers is weak, action becomes fragile. If several of them are in conflict with each other, you know exactly the right thing to do and still not do it every single day. So, what actually works? I want to be honest with you about the evidence here, because this is not an area where every possible approach has equal support. The tools with the strongest backing in this area are implementation intentions, those specific if-then structures I mentioned, and what researchers describe through self-determination theory, which essentially says that action is more durable when it supports your sense of autonomy, your sense of competence, and your sense of connection to others. Let me translate that out of academic language. You will follow through more consistently when the goal feels chosen rather than imposed. When you believe you are capable of doing it, and when you feel like the people around you are with you rather than indifferent or hostile to what you're building. That is not soft. That is actual structure of sustainable action. Now let me give you a practical sequence you can apply to one area of your life right now. Step 1. Name the action in one sentence, not a category, a specific action. Not, I want to be healthier. Name the single specific thing. Step 2. Reduce it to a first step that takes under 5 minutes. The goal is to make the entry point so small that resistance cannot justify not doing it. For example, I want to build more upper body strength. You can start off by doing 5 push-ups. There you go. Or even 1. There you go. So, step 3, attach it to a specific cue. Something that already happens in your day. Something you already do without thinking. That existing behavior becomes the trigger. Step 4, write the if-then plan. If this cue happens, then I will take this action. Write it down. The action of writing it increases the probability that you follow through. Remove one friction point from the environment. One, not a full reorganization. One thing that currently makes that action harder than it needs to be. Remove it. Step 6, track completion, not mood, not how you feel about it, not whether it was perfect, whether it happened. That is the only data point that matters for this purpose. Now step 7, review weekly for patterns, not perfection. You are not looking for a perfect record. You are looking for the pattern over time in the places where the chain is breaking so you can address the actual cause. So, I want you to name a few things that feel true but are actively working against you. So, for example, here are some examples. The first one, I need more motivation. What the evidence suggests is that most of the time you don't really need more motivation. You need a smaller action and a more reliable cue. Motivation follows movement far more often than it precedes it. Now, the second example is, I need confidence before I can start. Confidence is not the precondition for action. Confidence is typically the result of repeated evidence you can only collect by starting before you feel ready. Now, the third example, I need clarity first. Clarity often does not come from more thinking. It comes from doing. Action produces information that no amount of planning can generate in advance. The fourth one, successful people don't feel fear, right? I've even told myself this. That is not what the research shows. What the research shows is that people who execute consistently feel the same fear. They just have a structure that allows them to act anyway. And the fifth one, and I want to say this carefully because I know some of you have internalized this one deeply. I'm lazy. The research does not support that conclusion as the primary explanation for the knowing-doing gap. What it does support is that most people who believe they are lazy are actually overloaded, avoidant, carrying shame around the task, or simply unstructured. Those are solvable problems. Laziness as a permanent character trait is not a useful frame. It forecloses the very curiosity you need to actually fix what's happening. So, here's the deeper layer of things. I want to close with something that the research alone doesn't fully capture. So there is a philosophical dimension to this that traditions across cultures have been speaking to for a very long time. The ancient Greek philosophers called it akrasia, knowing the good and still failing to do it. Stoicism addressed it through discipline of attention. Buddhism addressed it through the relationship between desire and resistance. Taoism addressed it through what is called wu wei, effortless action that arises when you stop fighting yourself. Contemplative traditions across the board have converged on a similar recognition that the gap between knowing and doing is ultimately a gap between who you are and who you are performing to be. The evidence-based part of closing the gap is behavior design, emotional regulation, and habit architecture. That is real and it works, but the deeper part, the part that sustains the change after the structure is in place, is meaning. The surrender of egoic resistance and the willingness to let repeated practice actually change who you are. Those two layers, the scientific and the spiritual, do not have to contradict each other. They can reinforce each other. And when they do, that is when real change becomes possible. Not just behavioral change, identity change. That is what elevation looks like from the inside. So, if you take nothing else from today, take this. The gap between what you know and what you do is not a measure of your character. It is a systems problem, and systems problems have systems solutions. Identify one area, just one, where you already know what to do, but you're not doing it. Build a cue-based if-then plan around that one behavior. Remove one thing from your environment that makes it harder. Track completion, not mood, and review it at the end of the week with curiosity and not judgment. That is where you start. Peace, love, and elevation, family. Until the next one.